Welcome back. You might notice I haven't been here. I've been absent the last few days because I've been connecting all my stuff to be able to work in a hybrid way. And it required a lot of back and forth to the old studio, getting all the cables I needed. It also required realizing I'm going to need three of my full rack quarter-inch patch bay things. So I'll go further on another video about that. I just wanted to let you know that's where I've been. That's what I've been doing. And I'm just about there. Just got the last piece that I would need from Burl today to be able to connect the Burl converters to my RME UFX3. So now that I'm in that sweet spot, I just wanted to talk about the last video I dropped for a second because I think it's relevant. A lot of I basically made a video that you could hear shortcuts. And what I mean is you can hear when people do things on a rush basis as quick as they can, and when they don't go that little extra mile. Now, some people commented on stuff there's one person commented this is for a lot of people, this is bad advice because getting it done is better than making it perfect. Point me into the direction of that video that I made where I said anything about the word perfect. I would never say that because if you've seen my content enough, you know I am not someone who believes perfect even exists. I believe everything we do is completely opinion-based, and we could love something and somebody else could think there's flaws in it, and we could love something today and hate it tomorrow. So we sort of have to ride this wave of getting things done. But that's not what I was saying. It's not about perfect. It's about not being lazy with creativity. Your creativity when you're making something can easily be hampered by laziness. For example, where this comes from, too, is the idea that sometimes when we get stuff to mix, people say things to us like, I want this to sound like Pearl Jam 10. Can you make it sound like, Led Zeppelin 1? Can you, what I need my stuff to sound like System of a Down. They want it to, they pick something. And the way I look at this stuff is okay, you want what you want there, but are you aware that the last thing these guys did is use one guitar amp and one guitar in a basement somewhere, mic'd up with a 57, and that's it, and they recorded every single guitar part through the same amp, the same distance with the mic, the same, no gear at all in terms of front end, just directly into some Scarlett interface. They didn't do that. And even if that's all the gear they had they had people who knew better. So they know if they're going to blend things together, they're moving the mic at least to get some difference in the guitar tone from one part to the next or from one song to the next. They knew that they should switch the guitar because that right there, switching the guitar, even if it's the same type of guitar, like two Telecasters, if you have two different Telecasters and you play the same part through it, the subtle differences in the build, in how high the pickups are, in exactly what the string distance is from the neck, just all the subtle differences, how old the strings are, just everything will make so much of a difference, even more so than using the same guitar through a different amp, for example, or the same guitar with a different pedal. So in my opinion, it's guys who knew better would know that just switching stuff like the guitar up from one, if you're trying to do a double, for example, will give you so much more width, so much more personality in your doubles now of your guitar parts that are supposed to be heavy and thick and fill out the chorus, rather than you just doing one part, panning it left, recording it again, panning it right, and nothing changed. That's being lazy with your creativity. It's not the same as just getting it done is better than making it perfect. It's not about that. It's about you didn't want to move the mic and go. You didn't want to physically get up, go into the room and change something and then have to do something else to dial it in. And then you didn't want to do it. So that's what I mean. When it comes down to thinking, what's the quickest way to do it? It's not always the best. Sometimes it can work. Now, that's what I actually did say this in the other video, so I don't want to repeat it, but essentially I said, let's say you're an amazing engineer and you get your drum mic set up where the drums sound great and you've got a live room that sounds great. Well, if you're an amazing engineer, you may not need to move the drum mics for every song. It may be a fine drum sound on every song. But if you are learning, if you're a guy who's not going to bet the world that that's the best drum sound that they can get because they did it and they're great, and it's like every time they do it, it's the same because they've done it 100,000 times. Like, if you're not that guy, you setting it up multiple times every time, for example, on different days, will teach you more. You'll learn more. It was better that day, and it's not as good this day. Well, if you took notes on how you did it then and how you're doing it now, like if you actually weren't lazy about it, you would learn what's better and what's worse, what you like better and what you don't like as much. You'd learn, and you could put X's on the floor. Like, I've done all sorts of stuff to remember where mics were placed, but you would basically be doing more. Like, again, you'd have to get the drum mics great on day one. You'd have to get it on whatever day the drummer does the next song, on whatever day the drummer does the next song. So in other words, you're not relying on the first time you did it on that day one to be your best of how you set the drum mics up. Because why would you rely on that? Give yourself 12 chances. I bet you one of these is way better than the rest. And then you may learn something about why it's better than the rest. You see what I'm saying? So it's like learning comes from doing and not being lazy. But nowhere am I saying that perfect is what we're after. Getting it done is more important than perfect. And that's a big reason why you go with what you think will work in terms of drum mic placement or bass amp mic play. Like, you go with what you think will work. And then if you actually change it the next day, now you have more information to throw into your experiment to then compare against what you did before, which allows you to learn. So now you could learn more on the same project rather than people who just do everything the same for 12 songs and then they wonder why the sound isn't good after it's mixed or something. It's like, you didn't take any time to be creative. All you did was be lazy. You set it up once because to you, anything done is better than not being done. Well, in my opinion, that's not true. Being done is important. Being perfect doesn't exist, but being creative and being done is truly also valuable because it teaches you stuff. And this is the thing. There's no point also, in my opinion, in saying, I want my guitars to sound like this, because I bet you there's a number of different variables that have contributed to why those guitars sound the way they do on some album. Most of which is the guy playing. After that, it's the specific guitar itself. After that, it's what he's running through on his pedal board. After that, it's his amp. After that, it's what mic did they use on the amp. After that, it's how far was the mic positioned from the amp. After that, it's what was the room they were in. What kind of air are we pushing between the cabinet and the mic. After that, it's what's the front end? What's it going through? After that, it's how is it captured? Was it recorded to tape? Was it done digitally? Like, what was the deal? And then if you do none of this stuff at all and just, assume it's going to sound like that, it's like the guy who's mixing your stuff is not able to turn water into wine. It's not going to happen. So what's going to happen is you will get your sound. Now, this is why I say be more creative when you are recording. Because if just, for example, you decided to record your guitar through some ridiculous combination and permutation of weird stuff, like picture a maze set up between the amp and the guitar mic. I'm not saying set up a maze. I'm just saying picture something crazy going on between that and that. Your guitar is now going to sound very different. It's going to sound totally weird. That you have a better shot of leaning in to some weirdness based on what you have and what you've created and what creativity you could come up with for how to do this. Put the mic on a zip line and just run it back and forth in the room while you're playing. I don't know. Anything you could come up with, you have a better shot of that being unique and cool and people being like, I want my guitar to sound like this. Oh, yeah? Did you know they used a zip line and the bzz, bzz? You have a better shot of enjoying that product than one where you're trying to make your stuff sound like something you are so far from because you don't have any of that other stuff to create that one sound. So get the idea out of your head of what you want it to sound like and just listen to things from a point of view of, is this unique and cool? Because most of those guys who got those guitar tones that you like and all, it's just, does this sound good to the engineer, to the guys in the room listening? Because they would play it back and the band was in the room when they were tracking it. They'd be like, yeah, man, this is killer. So they would move forward knowing the guitars already sound great to everyone. It's easy to mix a song like that once you know it's already sounding great to everyone. They're not recreating and changing everything based on, this sounds like crap, we're gonna fix it later and make it not sound like crap. And that's what I think way too many people do. And this happens in all genres. I can't like I did a song recently for a guy who's like a rap artist, right? And he wanted his stuff to sound like Pop Smoke. And it's just like, man, you don't sound like Pop Smoke. So the way Pop Smoke tracked was very good. First of all, like meticulous level of matching his vocal to create this like chorus kind of sound. And his vocals have like a chord because they're so thick and they have so much like low end and a little bit of rasp in it that they sound like guitars. Like they sound not like vocals. So like if you want your voice to sound like that, they don't. It won't ever. It's like two different instruments. It's like a baritone guitar and a flute. Like this is how you gonna make one sound like the other. So stop trying to sound like other people. Just do stuff that's unique and creative enough, and then you don't need to worry about it sounding like other people. People will want to sound like you if what you make is great enough, which all gets back to the main point. The main point is the arrangements of your songs need to be such so that the focus is on where it's supposed to be and things aren't clouded and just cluttered up on top of each other. The best thing a mix engineer can do is take a song that's and create separation between the instruments. But if the instruments are on top of each other, where they overlap, then no matter how much separation you create, you've essentially decided already that these are one instrument. Even though it's four different instruments, you decided this is not four instruments. It's one instrument that has all these different parts to it, but it's one instrument. So now that really can't be separated into different things. It's really one instrument. Whereas if you take your arrangement and kind of build it where there's natural differences in where everything sits. There's just it's totally there. It's built in to the tracks. Now it's really easy to mix. Now the focus becomes on whatever you want it to be on, and it's not just like happenstance. So when I say don't be lazy with your creativity, this comes down to how things were engineered, but also it comes down to how they were like constructed in terms of arrangement. How are the songs built? And this is a big reason why pre-production is a lost art and it doesn't exist today really. People just record stuff, happenstance, and then they try to make it great in the mix, and they forget that because the arrangements are messed up, it can only get so good. So that's because the arrangements and the engineering and just the laziness usually, it can only get so good. That's really what you're hampered by. In other words, if you were creative, really creative, and gave somebody something cool, potentially, you could still have a problem where things are stepping on each other because of the arrangement. And something like, getting somebody who's not you who hears things from a mixing perspective, like a good engineer's perspective, to listen to your band practicing and really determine what should be out of the way of other things or what's unnecessary or what's just overlaid over itself. Like, I'm not a fan of opinions very much. I really like, I'm a fan of the person who's creating or mixing or whatever. Like, their opinion matters, and anybody else you bring in could really steer you in the wrong direction. So you really have to have the right person to do that, or it could be you if you record your band and then listen to it from a perspective that's not the guy who's playing on it. You have to listen to it from a perspective of, do we sound like a bowl of mush, or can we hear everything? And if you can hear everything, you're good already. And if you sound like a bowl of mush, you have to figure out what's stepping on what and change what you're playing. And that could be as simple as, we're both playing open chords. You get up on the neck, go 12th fret and up, and we'll stay down here, play the same thing. Now all of a sudden it sounds way better. So little ideas of like, that's just one example. But the point is, somebody listening to what you're going to record before you record it could really be a huge difference in the end product also. It's not just about being super creative with your engineering. If you're being creative with your engineering, but your arrangements are trash, at the end of the day, it will still be messed up. And I learned this actually a lot of different times, but especially on a lot of stuff I'm remixing that I recorded years ago. I didn't put a lot of thought into the arrangements. I sort of built them from a point of view of, oh, I think this will be good. Let's just add this part. Let's add this part. And then now later, when I find when I'm mixing, the most helpful thing I can do for these songs is mute parts out. Like mute parts that just get in the way. And it helps the mixes more than anything I could do with knobs. Absolutely. Because it's not just about clearing space, it's within the mix and frequencies. It's about like, why is this just here for no reason? It doesn't help, so get rid of it. All right. And that mute button, that's what I'm saying. Very, very helpful thing in mixing. So let me know what you guys think. Mainly, don't be lazy with your creativity. Getting things done is extremely important. It doesn't have to be the most perfect thing you've ever made, but you have to be able to say to yourself, I wasn't lazy with my creativity and my creative choices either. If you could say that to yourself, then you did right. If you said, I just don't want to move the mic so we can record 7 guitar tracks in the next 2 hours, like that's why, that's a bad reason. That's, in my opinion, that's painting the sky on 7 different paintings at once. And then you go in and paint the mountains on 7, and now you're going to paint, the right ear on all these people. And now you're going to go back and paint the left ear. It's like, that's not how great paintings are made, and it's not how things should be done. You can maybe do that, like I said, if you're like the best engineer going, or if you've been doing this for a really long time and you're a great engineer. Maybe when you set the drum mics up, they're always going to be like the same, so you don't have a reason to set it up multiple times. But the guys that haven't done that, you learn so much because all of a sudden now, this is what will happen. You'll set up the mics again the second day, and you're like, why did the drums sound so much better? Then you got to go deeper and realize, oh, it's because somebody bumped this, this mic got turned somehow. Now the capsule of this mic is facing the other way. Now I hear the room sound all of a sudden because my capsule's not facing the drums. It's better to have my capsule not facing the drums on the room. Like, I'm just saying, that's how you realize stuff, and that's how you get better. If you just set it up once, you never really learn anything, in my opinion. So don't be afraid to do what I'm doing, but also get stuff done. Be willing to fail. Realize where you messed up by making a bunch of different choices and then hating some of the choices later. That just happens. It's part of it. Don't get down on yourself. Just keep it moving. Keep it moving, and don't be lazy with your creativity. Number 1. Leave a comment, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. You guys got this. Take it easy.